are starting to struggle under the pressure of Annemiek van Vleuten.
They are, and that was really interesting actually, because Annemiek van Vleuten and Vos launched their attack at the same time. Van Vleuten could actually see that Vos had attacked but kept going. As soon as Vos turned around and looked back and saw Van Vleuten was going, she almost sat up. So to me that says that Vos was acting as more of a teammate there than Van Vleuten, and Van Vleuten's obviously really keen to get into this move or split this group up. You can see Elisa Longo Borghini now and Kasia Nieuwendomme really gritting her teeth to get onto this move, and it has split to bits. You can see now Marta Lack from Poland, Elena Cecchini, and the Luxembourg rider Christine Majerus just distance from this group. Is that Demi Vollering as well coming back from the Dutch squad? So this could be an interesting move now.
It is indeed, and it's Elisa Longo Borghini, of course, races for Trek Segafredo on the road, but now gets her freedom. And Elisa Longo Borghini has had some great form this season, and good to see her getting her freedom here. Those races when we came back in, the season started again after lockdown, over to Spain, and so it was she was away with Annemiek van Vleuten in a Classica Femenina Navarra, and I think she had a mechanical when she was in that breakaway, and Van Vleuten actually waited for her, but in the end Van Vleuten went off, won that one solo. But it's good to see Longo Borghini, and Nieuwendomme is your other rider that's represented. This is a strong trio now going clear at the head of the race. The Netherlands, Italy and Poland represented, but you can see the way that the wind is whipping across this course.
This is an absolutely fantastic trio of riders here, and I think if I was in a nation not represented behind, I'd be starting to worry. GB have now only got Hannah Barnes left to chase. The Swiss have got 2 riders, but Roos has been doing so much work already. Audrey Cordon-Rago from France is on her own. Uttrup, we don't know if she got back from that crash. Majerus was just getting distance. Lisa Brennauer was on her own for Germany. So this could be a really interesting move now, and I can't see this coming back.
No, I don't think so either. And this is, if you've been with us since the start, what a treat we have had today. This has been racing at its absolute best today here in the Elite Women's Road Race in the European Championships. We are heading towards the final laps. 8 laps of 13.65 kilometers, making up the 109.2 kilometers of today's race here in Plouay. Brittany, very much the destination for racing this week. We had the French National Championships at the weekend. Here's confirmation of your group. Kasia Nieuwendomme from Poland, Annemiek van Vleuten, the world champion in the rainbow jersey from the Netherlands. In the blue from Italy is Elisa Longo Borghini. As we head back around towards Plouay, is this the winning group? Are our medalists going to come from this trio? It's Hannah Barnes on the front of the chasers, Audrey Cordon-Rago, and her twin, you would say, not from the same nation, her twins in the trio at the front in Elisa Longo Borghini.
She is, and they seem to follow each other around. They've been riding together on the same team for a long time. They're almost best friends in the peloton, and they do look very similar on the bike to Audrey Cordon-Rago and Elisa Longo Borghini, but I think Audrey will be wishing she made that group of 3, because unfortunately for her, she is on her own. So she's going to either have to try and work with Hannah Barnes to get across now. The Dutch aren't going to work. They've got Van Vleuten there. So it's up to those nations that have missed that group of 3, which I believe is going to be Hannah Barnes, Audrey for France, the Polish, oh no, they have Kasia Nieuwendomme, so the Polish can sit back as well. So this is really a perfect break here for a lot of the nations, and it's going to be down to who's going to be able to sprint at the end. I think we're going to be actually see all 3 of these riders trying to escape. I'm not sure either of them or any of them will actually back themselves if it was to come down to a 3-up sprint.
Out of those 3, I would lean towards Nieuwendomme in a sprint in that. What's your feeling?
Yeah, I think I'd say the same, actually. We never get really the chance to see them sprint in that capacity. These sort of riders are normally winning solo, especially Van Vleuten. Elisa Longo Borghini normally ends up, unfortunately, at the back of any small group that she ends up in, coming to a sprint finish. And again, with Van Vleuten, the same. So I think, yeah, Cassia Nieuwedoma, I think she's got a real punch to her. So yeah, if I had to back any of the three in a sprint, it would be Cassia Nieuwedoma.
Right on the back here, Demi Vollering. What a great day she's had. Anna van der Breggen. Looks like maybe a little bit of a gap there. There's Marta Cavalli. There's Elena Cecchini there. Got their teammate up the road. Hannah Barnes is the rider that's having to do the work on the front. The Dutch perfectly happy now with the makeup of the lead as it's down to Barnes, Majerus, Cordon Ragot to do the work out of this. So that trio of riders, they're the only riders in this group now from their collective nations. As Soraya Paladin just off the back of the group here, just some chasers just trying to get back in to this group. The team cars just dropping off the back. Soraya Paladin, we've seen her, just didn't seem too comfortable on some of the wet descents that we've had today. The motorbike just moving up past the Vittoria neutral service car here. And there's Lotte Kopecky and Amelia Farlene, as Lisa Brennauer just latches on to the back of the group. Audrey Cordon-Ragon's number 16 from France here, looking back just to see what the group is doing. Lisa Brennauer from Germany has just got back into this group. And the Dutch, the orange jerseys, they've got Annemiek van Vleuten, the world champion, up the road in this group, this leading trio. And will the medals go there? It looks like it's pressure off. They're perfectly happy here, Danny, with this.
Oh, they're going to be rubbing their hands together. You could see Audrey Cordon Ragot talking to Lisa Brennauer, who has found herself back into this group for Germany, to come up with some sort of plan. And it's really, a really hard situation, because if they were to collaborate and really work together, almost as a foursome with Hannah Barnes from GB and Christine Margeroux, so the only other two riders who don't have that nation in that three in the front that we've seen with Van Vleuten, Cassia Nieuwedoma and Elisa Longo Borghini. But then if they really, really work hard to bring it back, then they've almost done all the work then for the Dutch, who will then, I'm sure, outsprint them at the finish. So it's a really hard situation for them, and I think it's going to be a case of them having to launch individually to try and get across to this group of three. And I think this is a perfect move for these three now, with 30.6 kilometres to go.
And as the day goes on, the sun's coming out as well. That'll please the riders, but then also you start to get those scenarios a bit like I call the twilight zone sometimes, where the sun starts to dry out and make the road really, really patchy and really sketchy.
Yeah, it can be actually even more dangerous. I actually mentioned before, when we did see that crash, unfortunately, we've actually just heard that Lizzie Deignan has abandoned the race. So that's a real shame for Lizzie Deignan, who was obviously really motivated after winning in that group of two that we saw in Plouay on Tuesday. So that's a real shame for Lizzie Deignan. But again, like you said, if the sun comes out and the roads are still wet, the riders could actually take these corners too fast. We know there is a really steep, narrow descent on this course, so the riders are going to have to be attentive still. It's the last part of the race. It is when riders take risks. It looks like Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig has got back into the group. She did come down earlier in that crash, and she is really going to take this race on now. She doesn't want to just sit back and go for fourth. She's going to give it all that she can to try and get these three riders back.
Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig for Denmark. Great to see her. It went down with Lizzie Deignan, so we wish Lizzie well, as Danny said. Back up to the front, so with Hannah Barnes. So in this group, Lisa Brennauer has made it back. So Germany could assist in the chase. Amelia Farlene is still in here for Sweden. Audrey Cordon-Ragot. They're not going to get any assistance, as you would expect, from the Dutch. Just 17 seconds is the gap. Marta Lack, she's got her team leader as well, teammate Cassia Nieuwedoma in this trio at the front. Cassia, as Danny said a little while ago, was asking everyone to just send her some luck. And good to see her at the front, winner of the Amstel Gold Classic last last year in that great style. Also one of her great victories last year, the victory at the top of the Burton Dasset Country Park climb in the Women's Tour of Britain. So she been looking for some good form. Good little question come in for you, Danny, and it's probably having looked at the conditions that we've had so far, and we were just chatting about the way that the temperatures will dry out. Just a little question regarding how much attention everyone pays to their tyre pressures in these conditions. Will they pay much attention?
Yeah, they will for sure. I think the forecast before this race was a wet race, which means you wouldn't have as much tyre pressure in the tyres. I think over the years, the evidence that's come out is to say that you don't need as much pressure in your tyres for the rolling resistance. A few years ago, everyone thought you had to, pump your tyres up as hard as you can, but actually now we're seeing that riders actually running a lot less pressure. So I think it'll be sort of safety over anything today to have the grip around the corners, especially with such a narrow, slippy descent going into almost the final climb of the day. They don't want to be taking any risks. So I think you'll be seeing the riders running around 100 PSI as a maximum even in the race, especially for the women who are generally lighter than the men.
When we look around this group, there are only 14 seconds up the road, but if we look at the makeup, Hannah Barnes can still sprint, Lisa Brennauer can sprint, Lotta Kopecky can sprint. So even though they're the only riders in there for their nations, they all are going to be thinking, I can win this if this comes down to a punch kick. So you might, the internal mind games that must go on in that position. I know you've been in that position a few times.
Absolutely, and that's what I was saying before. It's really hard for those riders because on one hand they want to get together and work together to try and get these three riders back, but again there'll be another part of them that's thinking, well actually if these were to come back I could sprint and win this race, so I want to save all my energy. And now you can see the riders are panned all across the road. Cecilia is going again. She is not happy to just let this gap get bigger and bigger and bigger.
There she goes. Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig goes. Hannah Barnes chasing behind. Hannah Barnes from Great Britain. She's dragging everyone with her. For her, she can just sit back, sit up, swing off the front, leave it to the other nations. This is a dangerous rider especially for the Dutch team to let go up the road. Very versatile rider, can finish. Has got a good kick on her. She was up there in that breakaway last year in the Tour of Flanders, wasn't she, as well? That was a great ride from her last year.
Yeah, it was a really, really fantastic ride. And I'm actually surprised that the Dutch have let this gap develop. It looks like it is lined out, so they're not happy with Cecilia going up the road here. You can see they just went under the red flag, the 1 kilometre to go mark, and it looks like they are reeling Cecilia in now. And it'd be interesting to see if there's any attacks over the top of Cecilia for the other nations that have missed this move to try and get across.
In towards the line. Elisa Longoborghini in the blue of Italy on the front. Can she add to the Italian medal haul in these championships? Hannah Barnes, teammate in Canyon Schramm of a rider in our breakaway group, Cassia Niewiadoma. The Annemiek van Vleuten, what they don't want to do as well is let one rider get across here. Then the medals are all decided out of this group. One more rider and then all of a sudden medal goes if you finish fourth.
No, exactly, and this is the part of the course where it doesn't favour the three ahead. It's a big straight road. The riders behind can see the three that they're chasing, and it's such a carrot for those riders behind. You can see Cecilia really isn't giving up here. She wants to limit the losses and close this gap as soon as possible, because if it's going out to 30 seconds, 45 to a minute, that's where the riders can really lose their head and then potentially never get this back.
Cassia Niewiadoma as we go on to this climb. The gap goes out. Chantal van den Broek-Black on the front. Cecily, we'll just see how many attacks that Cecily Uttrup-Ludwig has got in the legs. She's got to try and use this sort of point here. We saw her having another dig. I'm sure she'll have perhaps have another go on this climb. Christine Majorus in the light blue and white with the orange helmet as Uttrup-Ludwig right on cue goes again. Wants to try and use the points of this last climb now, where they have got 19%. The Côte de l'Oiseau, 1,400 meters. Vandenbroek Black marshals the move. Longo Borghini. I'd say out of this group, at least Longo Borghini looking phenomenal today. Really is on good form.
She is, and it's really interesting because it looks like Annemiek van Vleuten is potentially missing turns in this trio of riders. So it's either that she hasn't got the legs or that she's planning something on the part of this climb to potentially try and get away from these two riders. Maybe she doesn't feel confident if it was to come down to a bunch sprint. But Cecilia really isn't giving up. You can see it's really lined this group out now. And for the riders at the back, I could see Soraya Paladin from Italy there just hanging onto the back, and it is a real fight for these riders to stay in contention to this group to give them the best chance as they then come into one lap to go. They've got 2 laps to go at the moment, but Cecilia isn't giving up. She's keeping that good tempo on the front. She doesn't want that gap to go any bigger than what it is at the moment at 19 seconds. But Elisa Longo Borghini, like you said, Marty, is looking absolutely fantastic today. She did a fantastic job for teammate Lizzie Deignan, who we know unfortunately has abandoned this race now after a nasty crash in the previous lap. But Elise is looking great, and Cecilia is going again. This time though, she has got a gap. It looks like Rusa is straight onto it though. We know she's in great form after having a bronze medal in the individual time trial. But for Cecilia now, I think she's got to just not look back and almost go as hard as she can all the way over the top of this climb as it plateaus for about 4.5 kilometers before the descent starts.
This is where she has to try and go that last. She can't leave anything on the road now. She has gapped them. Audrey Cordon-Ragot is trying to come across. Ellen van Dijk wearing 7 for the Dutch. Just managing this one on that climb. We said Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig for Denmark. She tried and tried and tried again, and she's got Amy Peters on the wheel with Elise Chabi and Audrey Cordon-Ragot and Ellen van Dijk on the back. Just 15 seconds. So the constant attacks here from the Danish rider on the front, Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig, they're holding this group.
Look at the composure on Amy Peters' face there. She looks fantastic. Another such classy bike rider. She won this race last year. She has been predominantly a domestique for the Boels Dolmans team, with a few opportunities that she's taken and had some fantastic results from. She rides on the track alongside Kirsten Wild in the Madison. She will be going for that title next year in the Olympics. But Ellen van Dijk again, Audrey Ragoil is looking fantastic after her win in the French National Road Race. She's got the confidence. Success breeds success. Once you have a good ride, it almost then transpires to race upon race, to having a good season. And it's great to see these riders have really started the season. It's late in the season, but this year we know has been a bit of a strange one. They haven't had many opportunities to race. So for these riders, it will be a great confidence that their training has paid off and they are in good form.
You can see over the last season and this season, even though, as you said, it's been a bit of a strange one, but the sort of steps and the leaps forward that both Elisa Longo Borghini in the group here and Audrey Cordon-Ragot with the introduction and the start-up of this Trek Segafredo team, it really looks like it's made such a difference to those two riders. They've always been super talented. They've won throughout their careers, but they're just starting to look now that they're really starting to come into their own.
Yeah, they are. I think they're really happy in the team, and we know that they have to be happy to be able to ride well. They've come into the team together. It's a fantastic setup. They've got 2 brilliant DSs with Ina Teutenberg and Giorgia Bronzini, who we know is super close to both riders, Elisa Longo Borghini and Audrey Cordon-Ragot. So for them, I think now they're in this team, it's really a case of being able to showcase exactly what you've got. You have to be mentally content and happy to be able to get the most out of your bike ride, and even if you're in the form of your life. But it's Rusa again who's not happy to just sit back. She's taken this on, and this is really impressive to see. Marja Roos on her wheel, Vollering, Hannah Barnes for GB, and Chantel Vandenbroek Black just behind her.
Demi Vollering comes through to the front. Christine Majorus can sprint, got a fast finish in her. There's that scenario. We just saw on the climb, the chasing group could see them. Cecily, I don't think Cecily's done without a fight here, the Danish rider. I think she'll just be hoping that they can keep this group ahead within striking distance. The gap you can see there has just gone out again. She's not done without a fight in this. Clearly came into this with good form. So 45 kilometers an hour ahead of the race, 46 behind. You can see now Demi Vollering on the front is just trying to take some of the pressure out of this group for the Netherlands. And chat with Chantal van der Broek and Anna van der Breggen, both of who are, you just mentioned, two powerhouse DSs in Ina Teutenberg and Georgia Bronzini. This Bulls Dolman or the SD Works team are going to get two new DSs potentially next year with Chantal van der Broek and Anna van der Breggen. It's really important for the sport, isn't it, that riders, that they don't lose the experience and the knowledge and the ability to read a race of the likes of van der Breggen and Chantal Black. It's great as Chantal Black on cue goes on the attack, but it's good to have them coming into the sport now as DSs.
It really is, and I don't think there's any comparison to riders that have been in there, they've ridden it, they've done it themselves, they know how to read a race. You can see Chantal van der Broek Black now, she has got daylight between her and that group behind. So Van Vleuten and the Dutch team are obviously not happy with this composition. Van Vleuten is missing turns here. It's not in her interest to stay away at this stage, it seems. So for the Dutch, they are having to try to get another group, another rider across, with Chantal Black here, who we know can sprint. We know she can go for a long range attack, and if she were to get across, then it would really, I think, change the mindset of Cassia Nuadoma and Elisa Longo Borghini, who are going to have to try and get rid of her if it were to come down to a bunch sprint.
Here's your chasers. That group, Marianne Vos wearing 6, and there is Emilia Farlin and the yellow and blue here for Sweden. Great to see Sweden in this group. And Emilia now riding, of course, for the FDJ team on the road. So a teammate of Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig from Denmark. Marlon Ruser done a lot of work today, and you can see this the anchor is out, you could say. Demi Vollering on the front is slowing this down. 22 to Chantal van der Broek Black. 32 seconds is the gap now to these chasers. So the team from the Netherlands playing this one absolutely perfectly here in terms of getting their riders, protected riders, Annemiek van Vleuten and now Chantal van der Broek Black up the road and into this leading group, and trying to get information backwards and forwards when you haven't got the race radios. You're relying on trying to hand information up to the soigneurs at the side through those feed zones. There's the shot from Chantal Black here up to those that leading group ahead. So she has got them in her sights, just has settled into her chase here. Can she get herself on to the leading group? We're heading towards the final 20 kilometers of the Elite European Women's Championship. It's measuring your effort here, Danny, on a chase like this at this stage of the race. For Chantal Black, 2 Dutch riders in that leading group, it's really going to change that dynamic an awful lot when she gets on.
It is, and it's really interesting to see Chantal just glancing down there, and riders do this sort of differently. Some riders will look at their power meter to try and measure their effort almost from A to B. They know what their threshold is, their FTP, their functional threshold power, something they can hold, but it's right on the limit of not putting them into the red. Some riders will ride to that sort of power number, and others will ride with feel. And I think a lot of the time the Dutch riders do come from that sort of old school mindset where they will be riding riding with feel. I know with Marianne Vos, for example, she didn't really like to ride with numbers. I came from the GB setup where numbers was almost everything. They like that control, especially coming from a track background. So I'm not sure there where Chantel was looking down just at a bike at the road potentially, or a power meter to try and measure the effort across to these three riders. But it does look like Van Vleuten is missing turns here. So for Kasia Nieuwedoma and Elisa Longo Borghini, they're really invested in this move now, and I think it's all or nothing for the Polish and Italian rider.
It is indeed Kasia Nieuwedoma on the front. Can she add, can she take that European Champions jersey? Flick of the elbow for Elisa Longo-Borghini to come through. Just grabbing a drink from the bottle. Van Vleuten, as Danny said, is missing turns. Sat on the back here. She's just pretty much missing every turn at the moment. The teammate is in between. And again, from a team point of view, she'll have looked back. She'll have seen Chantel Black trying to come across the gap here. Just sit back, let her teammate get on.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they're going to have numbers in this group of four. Chantel Black's only got 10 seconds now to get across to these three riders, and then it's going to be a case of Chantel thinking about how she's going to win this from this group. And she is definitely the fastest rider out of this group of four, and she's, you know, the Dutch again have got numbers on their side, so it might be a case that Van Vleuten will try in the last few kilometres, but then Chantel will be able to sprint. So yeah, it's a perfect situation for the Dutch. Audrey Rigaud is now at the back at the neutral service car. Interesting. She looks like she's trying to get some information from her team car actually as to what to do. It's really hard without race radio. She's using the cars now. She's behind the commissaire car to try and get back to this group ahead. It's quite a stressful situation at this stage of the race, especially if those sort of medal numbers have gone in front as to what to do.
Inside 20 kilometres to go. Welcome to the Elite European Women's Road Race Championships. Chantel Black for the Netherlands is almost on to our leading trio. She will join her teammate Annemiek van Vleuten. That will give the Netherlands strength in numbers with two at the front. Kasia Nieuwedoma from Poland and Elisa Longo Borghini from Italy are in the leading group. She'll kick out of this corner. The road just starts to kick up just ahead of her. And now the whole dynamic of this race will shift again. It has been an absolute treat today, this race here in Plouay. 8 laps of this 13.65 kilometre circuit. The Dutch have played it absolutely perfectly. Danny, there would have been that essence in the team chat this morning with the sport director saying, right, almost just don't mess it up.
No, exactly, and we have seen that happen before, and it looks like Chantel's come straight through. Now it does really change the dynamic, like you say, for Kasia Nieuwedoma and Elisa Longo Borghini. They don't have to work. They've got two Dutch riders in this move now, so whereas before they were doing all the work and Van Vleuten was missing turns, knowing that Chantel was on her way through to this group of three in front, Chantel's gone straight through now, so for Italy and Poland, they have to chase. It's going to be a case of, I think, Van Vleuten and Chantel van den Broek Black just 1-2ing until they can't follow anymore.
Well, when you're in this position, and with Kasia and Elisa here, chat, and yet they're doing exactly, there you go, that's why we have you, Danny, because they're straight on cue. They're forcing her through to the front. Marlon Russa attacking from Switzerland with Marta Cavalli just covering in the blue jersey of Italy. Straight on schedule there, getting Annemiek van Vleuten through to the front.
Yeah, exactly. And they just have to be so attentive now. We saw actually earlier today, Lizzie Deignan, she does this perfectly. And I remember it was something she told me, a little tip back in the day. If you find yourself in a group where you're almost outnumbered, to hug one side of the road so that riders can't attack from each side. So if you hug one side, you've only got one side to cover, and coming from a track background again, you're always looking back. You can still ride in a straight line. You can see Van Vleuten doing it now. She's riding to the left-hand side of the road to make sure that if there's any attacks from behind, it's only one side that she has to look at and follow. So it's really interesting to hear. Van Vleuten is just keeping a good tempo as they turn left onto this narrow section of the course as we come into one lap to go. And it is going to be fireworks. It's been an absolutely fantastic race so far from this Women's European Championships.
It hasn't stopped, has it, since we came on air? It literally has not stopped. It has just been an absolute attack fest since we came on air. It's been something to behold today.
It really has, and I think that comes with the territory of a shorter race as well. It's only 108 kilometres, so these women are used to racing up to 160 kilometres, so it is always going to be aggressive, and I think that's what I personally love about women's racing with the shorter durations. It normally is non-stop from start to finish, and with that comes super exciting races, both for the riders and the viewers, and I love commentating on this type of race, and it's just fantastic.
Elisa Longo-Borghini moved across there. They're trying to force Chantal Vandenbroek-Black onto the front. Van Vleuten out of the saddle in that familiar style of hers. Just trying to whip up the tempo. Okay, let's throw each other under the bus here, Danny. Predictions out of this one?
I'm actually going to go with Chantal. I think she looks absolutely fantastic. To get across to that group as quickly as she did shows she's got absolutely fantastic form, and this gap has gone out now. It's over 1 minute to this group behind. You've got Anna van der Breggen here really patrolling the front and really taking any sort of speed or urgency out of this group. So for the riders that don't have a nation up there, they're going to have to try something, or they're almost just giving these medals away now. And I know it's easier said than done, especially when we've got such incredible riders up the front, but they're going to have to try something, otherwise, you know, they're almost just going to sit back and give it to them. But Annemiek van Vleuten here looks like she's keeping a really good tempo, and I'm really interested to see what the tactic is here from the Dutch pair, whether it's a case of Van Vleuten just keeping that tempo to stop the bigger group coming back, and that Chantal's actually really confident she can win out of this small group. They're just sandwiched now. The Italian rider of Elisa Longo-Borghini and Cassia Nieuwedoma are sandwiched between the two formidable Dutch riders, and they can just follow everything. No one's going to catch them by surprise. If one of them was behind, they could then come from behind, and that's where potentially the damage can be done. But, you know, these Dutch riders know how to race a bike, and they're playing this out perfectly.
They are indeed. This race, 2016, when we had the first races for the elites, it was really under 23 junior competition before they added the elite title. This rider on the front, Anna van der Breggen, won the first edition in 2016. Marianne Vos, her teammate, just at the back there in front of Marta Lack, won in 2017. Marta Bastianelli, as Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig goes again from this group for Denmark. She's done absolutely everything that she can to try and get away from this group today. Can she pull her and Anna van der Breggen clear? Lisa Brennauer reacts, so does Marta Cavalli. Good move here by Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig. Cavalli just trying to drag it back. So Italy trying to work, as you would expect, for Elisa Longo-Borghini. Van der Breggen's not going to do any work to try and take this one clear. It's a lonely place to be, isn't it, when you're Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig here?
It really is, and it's really frustrating position to be in, because she's almost losing those opportunities to try and get across. I'd say there's 3 left. That's the top of this climb, and then the 2 climbs that we see in the final lap. One comes straight after the finish line, and then one with only 2 kilometers to go. And I think that's what we're going to see here from this group of 4, from the likes of Cassia Nieuwedoma and Elisa Longo-Borghini. They have to try and attack on those climbs. So for me, they've got 2 chances left now to beat this Dutch pair. They're having a chat behind, and they almost need to work together, Cassia and Elisa Longo-Borghini, to try and work against this Dutch pair who are now coming up and conjuring their plan.
You saw the Italian team car come up just shouting to Elisa Longo-Borghini. My prediction, do you know what? I'm going to go with my heart today.
Go for it.
I'm going to go with Elisa. I would love to see Elisa Longo-Borghini get the title here. I think I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Italy. They're a little bit of a chat. So just
Yeah, it
trying
looks like it's 2 against 2, isn't it here? The two Dutch riders against Elisa Longo Borghini, the Italian rider, and Kasia Niewiadoma from Poland. Again, like you say, I think I would love to see Elisa Longo Borghini win. She doesn't always get the opportunity. Unfortunately, she hasn't got that super sprint finish from a small group, so she would have to win solo if she was going to do so. So again, they're going to have to use the 2 climbs, I think, to get away from this Dutch pair. Van Vleuten, we saw on Tuesday, didn't look to be in the top peak of the form that we've seen her in the past few races, where she's almost been in a league of her own against the whole of the peloton. But Chantel's looking great today, being able to get across to this group of 3 really quickly and efficiently, and looks composed here in the last 14 kilometers of this race.
Cecily Uttrup-Ludwig behind was trying to get that chase organised, was talking to Lisa Brennauer and the other riders, the Swiss riders. They've got 2 there to try and get this chase organised with Audrey Cordon-Ragot. We're coming in to the final lap of today's Elite Women's Road Race Championships here in Plouay in France. Our quartet, 1 rider from this group is going to miss out on a medal. Annemiek van Vleuten, Chantel van der Broek-Black, Kasia Niewiadoma and Elisa Longo Borghini. Van Vleuten's got the hand up. Has she got a problem here? She's got the hand up, just keeping going on the front. Bell lap this time. So Annemiek van Vleuten perhaps just looking for a bit of a chat, some tactics here. I'm just having a look to see if she's got any mechanical issues. That chases Lotte Kopecky, Hannah Barnes comes through. So the Swiss can put riders in here in the chase. Emilia Farlin is still in here, so it's up to that group. The riders that aren't wearing the orange jerseys of the Netherlands or the blue of Italy to try and organise this chase. Lotte Kopecky, what a chase that she made to get onto that leading breakaway group just before the this big group, the big hitters got in as well. So bell lap, 57 seconds it's holding as Demi Vollering comes through to the front, and a counter here by Demi Vollering. Annemiek van Vleuten looking for some work on the front as her teammate Demi Vollering jumps out of the group. Elise Chabbey jumps out of the group to Demi Vollering. There's a look. Can you see? Do you think there's a little bit of frustration perhaps creeping in here to Annemiek van Vleuten?
Yeah, potentially. She was skipping turns earlier today, so it really depends on their team plan here. And I think we're going to see now as they come onto the first climb of the only 2 that is remaining for Kasia Niewiadoma and Elisa Longo Borghini to try something. Neither of them, I don't think, would be confident to beat Chantel Black in the sprint. Van Vleuten is going to have to try and follow, and as is Chantel Black. But these 4 riders are having a great ride today, and I do think the winner is going to come from this group. There's still a 50-second gap, and it's only 12.6 kilometers to go with 2 climbs, this being the first one. And here is the Swiss rider Chabbey now with Demi Vollering. Demi Vollering can just sit behind. She's got 2 Dutch riders up the front. She really doesn't need to make a move, but she looks like she is. It looks like she is super motivated to try and get across. So it's quite an interesting move there by the young Dutch rider.
And Chantel Black at the front, sitting on the back now. It's almost like they've said to the other 2, we're gonna sacrifice Van Vleuten, and we're confident that Chantel Black can win. It's Elisa Longo Borghini now as we hit the steeper sections of this climb. The Italian now tries to set up her bid for glory. Little bit of a gap here by Elisa Longo Borghini. The gap is opening. Can she hold on to this one? The Italian with Annemiek van Vleuten on the front. This is the Côte de Lizzo, the 19% gradients. That's where Elisa Longo Borghini went. This is the way that she's got to win this one.
Absolutely, and this is exactly what I predicted. Elisa Longo Borghini and Kasia Niewiadoma here have to use the climbs to their advantage. They know that Chantel isn't the best climber. Van Vleuten doesn't seem to be on that fantastic form that we've seen her in the past couple of months. So this is a great move here by Elisa Longo Borghini. Van Vleuten is desperately trying to get onto her back wheel. It'll be interesting now to see if Kasia tries to go straight over the top here. Chantel Black has been distanced, so it's in their interest now for Elisa Longo Longo Borghini and Cassia Niewiadoma to keep the pressure on to make sure Chantel Black does not get back into contention with these three riders here.
Elisa Longo Borghini ups the pressure on the front again, so she's managed to drop Chantel Black from the group. Niewiadoma is holding on to the wheel now. Van Vleuten as Elisa Longo Borghini goes again. It's down to 3, so medals for all of this group if they can stay away. Van Vleuten looks around, looks for some assistance. Cassia Niewiadoma for Poland now moving through towards the front. As Danny said, these two have got to combine together, two nations. Oh, a little skip of the gears there for Cassia Niewiadoma. That was a powerhouse move there. That's Elisa Longo Borghini at her best.
That was, and it's really great to see Cassia Niewiadoma know she has to work with Elisa Longo Borghini now. They don't want Chantel to get back to this group of 3. For Van Vleuten now, she's almost got a perfect scenario. She can sit back and try and sprint at the end, and I think there are going to be fireworks again on the final climb. You could see there, Elisa Longo Borghini, she's got great legs, especially when it goes uphill, but there are still 2 kilometers to go from the top of that final climb, so it really is fireworks now. But what a fantastic move from Longo Borghini to get rid of Chantel Black there on that climb.
Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig in that red and white jersey from Denmark. We've seen attack after attack after attack from Cecilie Uttrup Ludwig from this group to try and get clear. It's almost desperation now, the attacks behind.
It really is, and it is really their last chance. As I said, they have to use these climbs to try and get across to these riders. The gap is still 55, 56 seconds and actually creeping up. So with 10.4 kilometers to go, I think you are going to get to a point where these riders behind actually give up and then maybe go for the minor placings, because they're just not going to be able to close that gap on their own. They're not giving up though, which is great to see, because ultimately it is a bike race and no one ever knows what can happen if there's cat and mouse towards the end. We've seen it time and time again where the riders can close these gaps quickly if the riders do start playing games at the front.
Indeed, Demi Vollering back up to our leading trio. Is Chantel Black going to get herself back in? As just having a little glance back, the camera just turns round. Chantel van den Broek Black got across. We know that she could out-sprint this group. So now Cassia Niewiadoma and Elisa Longo Borghini have got to keep the pressure on here. The danger, though, Danny, is that Van Vleuten tries again on those final climbs.
Yeah, exactly. But I personally don't think Van Vleuten looks like she's got the legs today, although because Elisa Longo Borghini and Cassia Niewiadoma have got to work so hard and keep this pressure on now all the way to the end, that could give Van Vleuten the opportunity she needs to really, take a gel, take a drink, get that energy back, to really think about where she's going to launch her attack, which I think is her best chance of winning this bike race. But you can see Chantel Black really, really close now. She's using the motorbikes. We knew she had that sort of time trial form to get over to these riders before, and it looks like Van Vleuten is trying to go. And this is an interesting move here by Van Vleuten to go. It looks like even on a downhill. So she's going to almost try and use her descending skills now to gap these 2 riders.
And it looks like Cassia Niewiadoma, when that attack went by Van Vleuten, she shook her head. Longo Borghini is trying to come across the gap and hold on here, but Van Vleuten, the gap is starting to stretch. Longo Borghini, a tail there, just looks back over the shoulder. Van Vleuten timing this one into the climb was Longo Borghini, just looking around to see where Cassia Niewiadoma was. Niewiadoma, twice a winner of the under-23 title, and Elisa Longo Borghini, best finish by her, 3rd place in 2016. But Van Vleuten has got the gap. Can Longo Borghini claw her way back? Niewiadoma, they've just got to get over the top of this one. Niewiadoma is in the sights now of Chantel van den Broek Black. That was a beautiful move there by Annemiek van Vleuten.
It was. She almost attacked then into the bottom of this steep, short ramp up to the plateau at the top of this climb, where we know then it does level out. And almost now we've got the scenario where they're all time trial into the finish, and it will be down to who can really grit their teeth and hold out for this finish at the end. Van Vleuten, we know, goes solo. She loves being out here on her own. She knows the power that she can hold. You've got Elisa Longo Borghini behind. Again, a fantastic time trial rider. She won the Italian national time trial only a few days ago. So now it is going to be a real show of not just physical, but mental strength here to not give up in this 8.4 kilometers that we can see to the rest of this race.
You can see just ahead here in the gap between Kasia Niewiadoma of Poland and Elisa Longo Borghini of Italy, out of the saddle on these little rises to try and get back to Annemiek van Vleuten. The Italian just tucking down. She's got Van Vleuten in her sight here. Looks like she's going to get back on. But how many times again, though, Danny, have we seen this with Van Vleuten with a gap this big that just grows and grows and grows? She's got such power on her own.
She has, but it actually looks like Elisa Longo Borghini is coming back here to Van Vleuten. And again, I just say it before, it didn't look like Van Vleuten had quite the form that she had when we saw her take that fantastic victory in Strade Bianche and the other races that she's won solo this year. She got beaten by Anna van der Breggen in the Dutch Nationals only a few days ago, and in Plouay she didn't quite look herself. But Elisa Longo Borghini is having the ride of her life. 6 kilometers to go now. They've just gone past that banner. And Elisa is going to make junction to Van Vleuten now. Van Vleuten's looking behind. She's probably almost going to have a bit of a surprise there to see Elisa Longo Borghini. And it'll be interesting to see now how this duo work together in the final stages of the race.
Elisa Longo Borghini keeps her title hopes alive as she latches back on to Annemiek van Vleuten. Chantal Blaak is about to try and put herself back into a bronze medal contention. Are we seeing the battle for gold and silver, and then the battle for the bronze? Chantal Blaak and Kasia Niewiadoma. Kasia has has been a silver medalist in this elite championship, as we said a moment ago, twice the under-23 champion. Elisa Longo Borghini, if she manages to take this one, this will be her first major title of her career. And I think it would be a popular one if she can outwit Annemiek van Vleuten here.
Absolutely would be, and definitely my personal choice for today. Van Vleuten has won so much already this year, and Elisa Longo Borghini doesn't normally get the opportunity that she's got now, and it's almost 2 against 2 here. Kasia Niewiadoma, but Chantal Blaak can just sit behind Niewiadoma here. She knows Van Vleuten is ahead, although I'm going to say that I think Elisa Longo Borghini is looking the stronger of the two up at the front. So it'll be interesting to see how they ride the final climb. Which we know is only 2 kilometers then to the finish. I think they're actually closer to the finish than what we're seeing in the top left-hand side of your screens. We've already seen them go through the 6 kilometer to go mark, and it's showing 6.9. So I think we're actually closer to the finish than maybe it's showing here on the screen.
In this position, what's going through Elisa's head?
That's a really, really good question. She's such an experienced bike rider. She knows how to race. She's an incredible descender, as is Van Vleuten. So both going down here now. They don't really need to take too many risks. It's got a 12-second gap. Although if they do start playing cat and mouse towards the finish, it does give the opportunity to Kasia Niewiadoma and Chantal van den Broek Blaak to get back to this group, which is what they don't want, because they know Chantal can out-sprint from this group. But it looks like Kasia's actually gapped Chantal down this descent. So again, like you said, I don't know what would be going through my head if I was Elisa Longo Borghini. I think I'd have quite a lot of confidence with the way she's riding. The fact that she got Van Vleuten back when they were almost in that time trial mode must give her confidence that she's got the legs, and got potentially better legs than Van Vleuten today. So I really hope she plays this out smart and gives herself the best opportunity to win this race today.
Indeed. We've seen Elisa Longo Borghini take the national championships of Italy in the past. She's won the Mediterranean Games in terms of these sort of jerseys, the European jersey or the World Champions jersey that Annemiek van Vleuten has got on her shoulders. 23 victories in her career so far, including a recent Italian national championship. So again, looking at this one, only the Dutch and the Italians have ever won this title, and it looks like it's going to happen again.
It really does, and on paper they do have just absolutely incredible teams coming into this race, and it'll be interesting now with Van Vleuten, if she knows Chantal Blaak is behind, whether she'll give it everything to keep these two away, knowing that Chantal Blaak's got great legs as well today. You can see the banner coming up. It's only, oh, it says 9k to go, so that's obviously not correct. We've got less than that to go. They've only got one more climb left, the Point Neuf, which we know can split the group into. Cassia Nieuwedom, it looks like she's coming back here, so it's coming back almost to this group of four. They don't want Chantal Blaak to get back, to be able to sprint in the last couple of 100 meters. They're going to have to use that climb to go again. This really is going to be an exciting finish.
It is indeed. Nieuwedom looks around. That attack by Annemiek van Vleuten just put her into the red zone, but she has found her way back. Can she add an elite title to those two under-23 European road titles that she's won in the past? The gutsy Polish rider gets back on, but she brings with her the Dutch powerhouse and the former world road race champion in Chantal van den Broek-Black. But how much has that chase, that attack of Elisa Longo-Borghini, how much has that taken out of the legs of the Dutch rider on the back? And now for the two Dutch riders, they're just Van Vleuten just try and lead this one out now for Chantal Blaak.
Yeah, my prediction is that it's not going to be a 4-up sprint at the end. I think it's almost going to end in that sort of time trial formation that you saw on the final ascent here. Look, they're really, looks like they're almost chilling now on a club run. These four riders coming into the last 4 kilometers of this race, but we know they're just about to start this final climb of the day. And this is where the form is really, really going to be tested. I do think it's going to be absolute fireworks. Who can get over this climb first? Is there going to be a group together to chase them coming into the last 2 kilometers? This is exciting stuff, Marty. What are your bets now?
I'm still going with Elisa. I'm still going with my prediction. I'm still going with my heart in this one. She's looking phenomenal today in the blue of Italy. I'm gonna stick with her. I'll let you keep your Chantal van den Broek-Black prediction. And the Italian team car just up for a quick word here. I think Nieuwedom on this climb, looking at how Cassia normally rides, I think she'll be looking to try and get clear here.
Yeah, she has to, and I think with Chantal suffering on that climb before, they know that they have to try and get rid of her. So I think Cassia and Elisa Longo-Borghini are going to try and get away. Now it's almost their last-ditch attempt.
Elisa Longo-Borghini makes her bid for glory, and the Italian, she went on that steep little climb, the Côte de l'Ezo. Now she wants to try and win this one solo, and they've gapped Chantal van den Broek-Black again under the pressure of the Italian. And Van Vleuten, is she going to stay on the wheel? Cassia Nieuwedom has just latched herself on to Elisa Longo-Borghini here, but the Italian on this climb, this is when we see Elisa Longo-Borghini at her best. Van Vleuten shifts through the gears as she starts to get on. Look at the effort etched on the face now of Cassia Nieuwedom as she fights to stay in contention, but Van Vleuten comes straight over the top and goes again. Can the other two riders in this breakaway react to the world champion? Van Vleuten will want to try and win this one solo. Can she crack Longo-Borghini? Nieuwedom looks like she's just losing a few meters, but here, Danny, Elisa Longo-Borghini riding out of her skin.
This is almost a mental battle now. We saw Van Vleuten almost being gapped there before, and they know that the best time to attack is when everyone's legs are hurting. These 3 riders' legs for sure are all absolutely burning at this stage now. So it's almost that they've got to really, really grit their teeth. They've gapped Cassia Nieuwedom. I would say Elisa Longo-Borghini is looking the best out of these two, but for Van Vleuten to just go over the top there just shows that she is still incredible. She's dropping her head. Her chin's going down. It almost, you can feel that pain, can't you, Marty?
You can. The pain on the face of Annemiek van Vleuten. The Dutch team have played this one perfectly today, but are they going to be denied by the team from Italy, who also placed some strong riders in that group? Van Vleuten, you can see right on the limit as Longo-Borghini is just tucked in on the wheel of the world champion, just fighting fighting to stay with her. Van Vleuten, it looks like they can see the summit just ahead of this climb and the run in towards the finish. Nuvia Doma did a great ride to try and get back into that group. Couldn't quite stay with them. 2 kilometers to go. Longo Borghini looking phenomenal behind Annemiek van Vleuten here.
She really is, and she's got to really pick her time now to try and get past Van Vleuten. Van Vleuten almost keeps stop pedaling. Her head's dropping. She really is in so much pain. These riders, Cassia Nieuwendomme, can't give up. The medals are still in contention here. Elisa Longo Borghini looks like she's motivated to actually work with Van Vleuten. She actually muttered something to Van Vleuten there, probably for them to both try and work together. You can see Van Vleuten's mouth wide open. She's trying to gasp for that last bit of breath that she's got, for the oxygen to then be transported to her legs to give it everything into this final 1.6 kilometers of the race. But I think if I was Elisa Longo Borghini here, I would almost let Van Vleuten do a bit more work, knowing that she really is on her knees. And Elisa Longo Borghini is just in formidable form. She is looking fantastic coming into this final 1.5 kilometers of the race. And again, they look like they're just starting to cat and mouse here, which gives an opportunity for Cassia Nieuwendomme, who I know is not going to give up behind, and also Chantal Vandenbroek-Black again. So they have to keep moving here, as we can see them going under the Flamme Rouge, that famous red triangle which symbolizes 1 kilometer to go. It's downhill with a final kick up with 200 meters to go.
Elisa Balsamo won the under-23 women's road race for Italy. Giacomo Nizzolo yesterday in the elite men's race. Is Elisa Longo Borghini, can she outwit the world champion Annemiek van Vleuten of the Netherlands on the back here and add yet another European title for Italy? Van Vleuten is leaving Longo Borghini on the front here. Elisa has just got to watch this, but look at Cassia Nieuwendomme. Just trying to ride back on to the 2 leaders. You can see that Van Vleuten just spying this corner. Now they come on to the World Championship street. This would in Plouay, the world champs are here at 2000. Nuvia Doma is not done. And now Annemiek van Vleuten goes, jumps across. Longo Borghini into the slipstream. It just kicks up towards the finish line. Annemiek van Vleuten, can she outsprint Elisa Longo Borghini here? Longo Borghini fights to try and get past Annemiek van Vleuten holding the front. Is it going to be the win for the world champion? Holding the front. Annemiek van Vleuten crosses the line to take the title. She adds the European jersey. Elisa Longo Borghini settles for silver. Nuvia Doma takes bronze. Chantal Vandenbroek-Black takes the 4th place. Danny, what can you say about that? She looked absolutely spent, but that is Annemiek van Vleuten at her absolute best. Take us through the sprint.
That was absolutely incredible work there from Van Vleuten. I think Elisa Longo Borghini was almost too desperate there to keep going all the way to the finish. She just did too much work leading Van Vleuten out into those final stages of the race. Van Vleuten picked the perfect moment to catch Elisa Longo by surprise, moving from the right-hand side to the left-hand side of the road. And you can see Van Vleuten just had enough in her legs to beat Elisa Longo Borghini, and Cassia then rounding out the medals today. But what a fantastic performance from Van Vleuten. We saw on that final climb her head was dropping. She almost stopped pedaling a couple of times. I think that was probably her toughest victory so far this year.
I think so. Elisa Longo Borghini pushed her to the limit there. Just that kick up at the end. And the Dutch take the title again. And it's Annemiek van Vleuten that takes that one. Longo Borghini shakes the head again. Elisa did absolutely everything that she could do today to try and take this title for Italy. But what a race. I need to have a sit down now. Audrey